So a couple days ago during the Dutch Grand Prix, everyone's favorite Italian dictator Stefano Domenicali was once again asked about this year Formula 1. And the reason why I say once again is because this year he has faced some scrutiny and questions regarding the regulations. In case you weren't aware somehow, the regulations have changed, and while the chassis and era always changes, the big story everyone was talking about was the fact that the engines changed. And something about F1 is when the engines change, everything changes. In 2014, we got introduced to the turbo hybrid V6 engines in the sport that brought an energy recovery system to F1 for the first time. Previously, we had a 7-gear V8 engine introduced in 2006 that aimed to limit F1 car speeds, V10s that wanted to increase them, and so on and so on. When the engines change, it is a massive deal. So, what changed this year? The MGUH was removed for sustainability purposes, with the main draw of the regs being the power is now split 50-50 between hybrid and combustion. Immediately people became speculative because that is a damn bold change, one that perhaps Formula 1 is not ready for. Max Verstappen certainly thought so, since way back in 2023, he said that these engines would be terrible since clipping will be happening out the wazoo and that we will see some mighty speed differences that just isn't in the spirit of Formula 1. MBS and Domenicali then proceeded to say, nah, we know what we're doing. So 2026 arrives, and can you guess what happened? When the new regs debuted, the cars were mighty fast, but the clipping and speed differences Max brought up, yeah, it was happening bad, even leading to a pretty big crash for Ferrari. It's clear that the regulations had some major flaws, so going into Miami, the power levels were adjusted to try and limit the clipping and bring more driver impact back into the car. And for the most part, they have worked since the clipping issue is hardly a problem now, and while battery speed differences certainly still exist, it's not literally every overtake now. However, it's clear that the regulations still have some major flaws to be ironed out, as the 50-50 split was just too ambitious right now. So after some more changes in 2027, will the FIA keep tweaking the regs? To bring it back to Zandvoort, Domenicali, when asked about what he thinks about the fans' complaints to the regulations, literally said that they don't know the difference between clipping in the engine and clipping in the hair, which is certainly a choice. If regulations in my sport were being criticized and leading to many people becoming disinterested, calling the fans dumb wouldn't exactly be my choice of words or actions. So what if I were F1 president, and FIA president for that matter? What if I had the power to change the sport? Here, everybody, is how a PNG rubber duck with the Ferrari hat would fix Formula 1, and spoiler alert, you will not like it. But it's in the spirit of racing, I think, and certainly is much better than whatever Domenicali and MBS will do now and in the future. So with that said, let me show you how I would make my perfect Formula 1 cars, my perfect Formula 1 rules, my perfect Formula 1 calendar, all from my perfect Formula 1. Subscribe if you also hate your government, and remember to check out the Crash Happy podcast where you can hear how cheese would fix F1. So enough yapping, and let's get to quacking.
A good weather for a race, but especially for a duck.
The biggest thing in Formula 1 is, of course, the racing, and two things mainly influence the racing: the cars and the rules. Let's begin with the cars, and again, spoiler alert, you will not like what I have to say. And now, contrary to popular beliefs, going back to 2000s eras of Formula 1 cars will not bring back good racing. In fact, it's just gonna make it worse. Truly, that era is the definition of hype moments and aura, since each season had like what, 1 or 2 memorable races, if even. Most of the good races from this era were due to unexpected track conditions that threw every team off, leading to weird strategies and more daring than usual driving. For the other 95% of those seasons though, you just had slow, boring, monotonous racing that, even taking away the Ferrari dominance, wouldn't have done much for entertainment. So unless you're like some early to mid 30 person who witnessed that era personally and prefers F1 to be all about the engineering aspect and not sport aspect, then shut your mouth, LARPer. But in my perfect Formula 1 world, I would have the cars a tad bit smaller and lighter than what they currently are, since safety standards come with the cost, you know. Also, looks wise, I would keep the cars how they currently look, but ideally make the barge boards not look like that, and also shave off some of these weird bits from the front wings. And for when it comes to how the cars actually feel, here we go. I know I'm gonna get hate, but make the cars slower. F1 can still be the fastest motorsport in the world. Hell, that's a cool stat, I'll even admit, but it can be fastest by like 1 second at most instead of like 11 seconds or wherever it's at right now. Look, the reason I say this is because the faster the motorsport is, the worse the racing will be, especially in open wheelers. Take a sport like WEC, for example. Now, WEC isn't open wheel, I know, but it's still one of the fastest motorsports around and currently is surging in fan bases, and rightfully so. The racing has been the best in years, and more manufacturers are entering the sport. Wow, pure racing, no batteries, nonsense, or MBS? Well, there is energy power in WEC, but no one cares. The real reason why the racing is so good in WEC is because it's fixed, and I'm not exaggerating. BOP, or balance of performance, is a recent addition to the rules, and basically, the FIA every round adds buffs or debuffs to the cars to make them closer to each other. So one race, Ferrari can get extra power, and in the next one, depending if they did good in that one or not, can see them get extra weight added to the car to bring them back down. And this affects the entire grid across the classes. That is race fixing right there, but it's necessary since for a while, WEC was dying until around 2019, and before then, viewership was plummeting, manufacturers were leaving, the series could have bankrupted if BOP never was brought in to make the sport interesting to watch again. And of course, this happened because again, the faster a motorsport is, the worse the racing will be. In F1 especially, all that complex aero and chassis work that makes the car super duper fast produce a lot of dirty air and weight that makes the cars more difficult to race with. So while the drivers may love their cars, we the fans, the viewers, the literal 99% of the sport will suffer. So to go back to what I said, I will make the cars lighter and slower so the race can be better, but most importantly, less reliant on overtaking aids, which leads to my next and final major change. Unfortunately, guys, due to the nature of Formula 1, even with slower cars, we will still need an overtaking aid as every fast series must have one. And if you're vehemently against them and insist on no overtaking aids, then fine by me, but prepare for F1 to be as slow as Mazda MX-5 Cup, buddy. That's the only way. Anyways, instead of scrapping away the current batteries, maybe we can rework them. Now, disclaimer, I'm not an engineer or anything of that sort. I deal in mental sciences, not electrical, so sorry if I'm gonna sound like an idiot right now, but instead of a battery that charges and depletes so much power per lap, how about a big battery that is fully charged before the race, and as it progresses, it depletes slowly without recharging, but delivering awesome power still. Let's make it 250 seconds of non-stop power before it depletes. The driver better use that energy wisely now. Maybe dump it in the first half for an aggressive first stint and a defensive latter half. Do the opposite. Maybe try to be as balanced as possible no matter what. If a late safety car happens, almost everyone will have varying time left on their batteries, leading to a very spicy finale. And if the battery thing is too on the nose or just impossible, since I know it sounds dumb, then fuck the batteries, man. It's my reality after all. Just make it literally push to pass. Oh, and before we wrap up this segment, if you're wondering what about the engine noise, I don't really care about engine noise, but I guess a good old V8 wouldn't hurt, you know. Actually, maybe it would. Please wear earplugs, folks. You will not regret them. Moving on, though, we of course need to talk about the second biggest factor in F1 racing, the rules. And boy, oh boy, do I have a lot of shit to say. People always seem to get mad when I talk about F1 racing standards, as certain drivers conflict with my views. So I'm just going to be straight up blunt and tell you, no more stupid aggressive moves. Now, notice I didn't just say aggressive moves. Part of motorsport is being aggressive. Hell, not some. All great overtakes come from some sort of aggression. So for me to sit here and say all drivers single file and overtake at one spot would be me admitting I'm not a racing fan. So that's why I said stupid aggressive moves, and by that I mean don't fuck over the other driver and then act like you beat them skillfully. The main avenue for these moves is F1's patented ahead of the apex rule. This basically means if two drivers are fighting for position heading into a corner, whichever car is ahead at the apex or the main point of the turn can dictate how the racing will operate, and thus will have the corner deemed theirs. The problem then? Well, since it is their corner, they can do whatever they want and get away scot-free since, hey, it was my corner, buddy. So some drivers, mainly named Max Verstappen, will release the brakes early on purpose, entering a turn either through an aggressive dive bomb or side by side, and because he did that and got ahead at the apex, even if he's coming in hot, the other driver must compromise and go off track, losing heaps of time. But hey, it was Max's corner, obviously. I hate this racing. In my ideal world, my solution may not be what you expect. A big reason why this rule even exists in the first place is because of track limits. Drivers are not going to allow what Max does to them, so sometimes they'll run off but keep the position and not compromise. But because they ran off the road, they will get penalized as they technically took a position off track. How bullshit is that? So my solution to ahead of the apex, and for that matter, stingy track limits, simple. Fuck the white line. The curb is the track limit, and even if you go off of it, as long as it isn't a blatant corner cut, it's fine. Drivers want to find the fastest way through a track, and sometimes that way goes over the white line, but it don't mean they could just full on skip a turn. Track limits literally used to be like this before 2021, and things were great. Sure, you still had Max doing his ahead at the apex shenanigans, but that was before the term was coined, and more often than not, Max suffered consequences because of it. The whole reason why it even became a rule in the first place was because Max kept crashing into others or causing some sort of controversy, so the FI, instead of banning it, just said everyone is allowed to do this. Anyways, revert track limits to what they were before and penalize drivers who think they have any sort of right to a corner and can shove people off track, and then we are golden. This way, we could still get aggressive driving and have it be more of a spectacle. Imagine seeing two drivers duking it out and seeing them fight even off track, but acting like they are on it. We wouldn't get that today since the inside driver would just have to let go of the brakes and shove their competition to Narnia as they would have to comply. So hopefully my changes can stop seeing stupid moves like ahead at the apex happen and see something more like Massa and Kubica attempting to murder each other in Fuji, or Massa and Hamilton doing the same, or Massa and Alonso doing the same. A lot of Felipe Massa. Do I like him? Oh god. Lastly, I just want to tweak up the calendar a little bit. Now this segment alone could warrant a full video, but I don't wanna. So instead, I'm just gonna quickly talk about it here and hope you remember it all. Anyways, in my ideal calendar, there is such a thing as too much F1. Right now, there is too much F1 since a 24-25 race calendar potentially. Come on, man, that's way too much. A reason why Christmas is so special is because it's once a year. Imagine if Christmas was once a week. It spoils the magic. So my ideal race calendar will be no more than 20 races per season, and the season starts in mid-March and ends in the first week of December. Plus, there will also be 0 triple headers. I think that's fair, and to me, offers a nice blend of magic and constant action for the Formula 1 fans. Also, to be sustainable, each Formula 1 round will go region by region, so no more one race in Oceania, the next one the Middle East, then East Asia, then Europe, then America, then Europe again. Please, I think it's obvious. So now for the rounds. Round 1 will be in Australia, cause duh, Melbourne marks the start of Formula 1. It just does. It has that vibe. It's a very bright and hopeful atmosphere that makes this the definitive starting point of the sport. Round 2 shall be in Malaysia, since come on, it's a brilliant track that deserves to be permanent. If no one is buying tickets, then shit man, I'll buy them all so the circuit can make its money back. It needs to stay. Round 3 will be in Japan, but this is my ideal sport, and in my ideal sport, fuck Suzuka, fellas, we arrive in Fuji. This track I would think would produce better racing in modern Formula 1 since Suzuka, while being very iconic, is pretty outdated unfortunately. It's a hell of a track to drive, yes, but Fuji is also great and in my eyes would deliver us way better racing action. Round 4 shall be in China since glory to the CCP and Chairman Mao, America will fall under the red sun one day and welcome its prosperity. Round 5 shall be in South Africa at Kialami because seriously, why isn't F1 in Africa again? Now I will say, the Kialami circuit would be fine I guess, but my intention would be to build a much better purpose-built track since the Kialami circuit would be much like Zandvoort, or in other words, outdated. Round 6 shall be in the Bahrain International Circuit since it's a good balance of everything you'd want. Slow, medium, high-speed corners, long and short straights. It's a damn solid place that I think would deliver good racing all around. Round 7 shall be in Baku since up until now, the circuits have been safe and vanilla. How about some chaos? Baku always delivers us drama in some way, shape, or form, and I think it's a good introduction to the next part of the season, the long and grueling European portion. And to kick it off, round 8 shall be in Istanbul Park, since like Malaysia, this place is too good to be collecting dust. Consistently good racing action has always taken place here, and who hates this track? Seriously, who? Round 9 shall be in Germany at the Hockenheim Ring since I think its layout would be better for racing action than the Nürburgring GP layout. However, I am indifferent to both, so for the purposes of this video, they'll rotate every year just like back then in the mid-2010s. Also, why is Germany not on the calendar anymore? Seriously, what are you doing, MBS? Round 10 shall be in Monaco, since we're the halfway point in the season. What better way to celebrate than racing on F1's own crown jewel? Round 11 shall be in Austria, since the Red Bull Ring, it's an S-tier circuit with everything you could ever want, man. What can I say? Round 12 shall be in Spain, and like Germany, every year it's going to rotate with Portugal, this time at the Barcelona circuit and Estoril circuit, since Portimao is a little bit overrated to me. Round 13 shall be in Russia, which makes its return, but not to Sochi, to the promised St. Petersburg race we never got. I was really intrigued to see this race happen, but thanks to the stupid war, we got denied. But this is my ideal F1 reality, and I'm basically God, so no more war. Round 14 shall be in Spa, since duh, yes, modern Formula 1 is not suitable anymore, but it's Spa, man, it's too historic to leave out. Round 15 shall be in Monza, and round 16 shall be in Silverstone, since again, duh, do I need to explain myself? Now for the final stretch, the Americas. Round 17 shall be in Canada, since the Montreal circuit, it's kinda nearing classic track now, dare I say. Round 18 shall be in the US of A, but every year will be different. Well, not literally, but one year we are on the East Coast with the Indianapolis circuit, and yes, it's East Coast because I said so. Next, we are in COTA in the Midwest, and finally, we are on the West Coast with the Vegas circuit. All three tracks share what the US is best known for: history, chaos, and beautiful sights. Round 19 shall be in Mexico because this track is kind of reaching iconic levels for me, but we will build a new track that is actually good. Trust the process. Before finally ending the season at round 20 at Brazil at the Interlagos circuit. Enough said. So that was my perfect reality. Did I cook chat or what? If not, then kindly remember that I do not care. It's my perfect world, but I am curious to hear your perfect world, so please let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to all my Brazil Flag for the continued support. Make sure to join if you cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you have a like and subscribe since it really helps me out. And make sure to let me know in the comments what you think of this. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.